Perfect. Okay, welcome everyone. Welcome to our second spring MOA meeting, and we're going to start right now. So we're going to go over the disclaimer and the rules. So make sure you be respectful to the officers here and also our guest speaker. And to do that, please mute yourself while speakers are talking, and do not use inappropriate language in through voice or in chat. And always just please be polite in general. And we do have a lot of medical professionals that come speak with us, so please try to refrain from asking diagnostic questions. If any of these rules are, if you break any of them, we're going to have to politely kick you out. And just a reminder that this meeting is recorded and will be posted on our YouTube channel. If you're not comfortable being shown on that, just turn off your camera. And yeah, that's it.
So for the attendance point system, in order to earn the full amount of points, you need to sign in on the Google form at the beginning of the meeting, and then sign out with the word of the day. And that'll be a total of 3 points. And also, if you didn't attend the meeting live, you'll have 24 hours to complete the Google Forms, and you can still earn partial points. So at the end of the year, the member with the most amount of points will win a prize. And you can get bonus points for participating in community service activities that you can find on our website.
And Natalia will post the link to sign in the chat. I'll give everyone a few more seconds to click it and open it and sign in right now. And then we're going to move on. All right, some upcoming events. Right now, as for like speakers and workshops, we're still in the planning and we haven't had any solid dates yet, but we do have a lot of things in the workings. But on June 11th, we're going to actually have a picnic/field day in person. Obviously, we're going to take precautions and follow the CDC guidelines, but this is a chance for everyone to meet each other in person since this whole year has been virtual. More details on that later.
Okay, and as always, our website is up. There's a bunch of opportunities and resources there that our officers update. If anybody is interested in checking out the local opportunities, just scan the QR code on your phone if you want to access those.
And if you want to connect with us, here are all of our social media platforms, and our meetings are recorded and they will be posted on our YouTube channel. And we also have all of our past meetings as well if you want to look at those. And if you want to stay updated about our events, you can join our emailing list on the QR code on the left. And we also have every other important links also with the QR code on the right. And officer applications for next school year are opened, and you can find the club constitution as well as the details of all the open positions in the application itself. So you can just scan the QR code, and they will be due in about 2 weeks, I believe, on Friday, the 28th at noontime. And you can also ask any of us like any questions that you have.
All right, so with our second guest speaker of the quarter, everyone please join me in welcoming Alec. Thank you so much for coming in today and giving us some insight. We appreciate you being here so much.
Yeah, I'll let you screen share right here, okay?
Awesome, sounds good. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you guys can get something out of this. I definitely want to make this about you guys. So if you guys have any questions and throughout the presentation, just feel free to like throw them in the chat. We can make it like super informal. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. Let's see. Okay. All right. Can you guys, oh shoot. Can you guys see that now? Like on the table of contents slide?
Yep,
Okay,
you
cool.
can see it.
Perfect. All right. So I guess first I'm just going to do a little background on myself. Second, I'll talk about the gap year that I took. Third, just talk about like some of the process of applying to schools and like kind of the way, like the route that I went down. And then I'll finish with telling you guys at least like what day to day for like in didactic versus now, which is doing clinical rotations. So a little about me. I'm originally from Santa Barbara, California. I love doing like anything outdoors. So hiking, going to the beach, rock climbing, indoors, outdoors, whatever, I'm about it. And then I love finding like new, really good food places or like breweries to drink at. Recently in Lodi, there's like a ton of wine. So becoming more of a wine person. And then I'm currently attending University of Pacific's PA program, which so their undergrad campus is in Stockton, but our PA program is actually in Sacramento. It's like the same campus as our law school, and actually this year they're adding like a nursing program and I think like an occupational therapy program. So they're trying to like expand our health sciences more, which has been great. And we actually, I can talk a little more about this later, but we just got full accreditation this year, which I'm not sure how too familiar you guys are with the accreditation process, but it's kind of a big deal because it takes like 5 years of like constant scrutiny from the National Accreditation Board. And they like make sure that everything is like in line with their expectations for producing new PAs. So it was kind of exciting for us this year. And then this is just the picture on the bottom left is me and some classmates went to this, we like hiked 5 miles into this place like near Tahoe and like backpacked one weekend. So there is time to do stuff, I will tell you, in PA school, which is nice. So I did my undergrad at USC, graduated in 2017 with a bachelor's in human biology. I'm going to be honest, like upfront with you guys, I had no clue what I wanted to do like until late into my undergrad. So I actually went in as a computer science major and thought that I wanted to be a coder and like make video games and stuff. And I realized like very shortly, I was like, I need to have something that I can like talk with people and interact as my job. And coding was not really the move for that. So looked at my other options and I was like, oh, I kind of like kinesiology stuff. Like I was kind of like I've always been kind of athletic. So I was like, maybe something to do with that. Like, I don't really know. So I started looking into that more, kind of started going down the physical therapy route. And that kind of took me into like my sophomore and like junior year. And then I started shadowing some PTs and I was like, I don't really know if this is what I want to do exactly. And I was like, kind of trying to force it because I was like, I'm already going down this like health path a little bit, but I knew it wasn't quite right for me. And then I started looking around it more and I was like, med school, like, I don't know if I want to commit that much. And then ended up like talking to a friend and she's like, hey, you should like do more research into PA. Like if you want to become a medical professional, like I still wanted to diagnose and like treat patients and do all that sort of stuff. And I did more research and I was like, this sounds so cool. And ended up just like full committing at that point, like shadowed a PA and was like, this is the coolest. Like I remember leaving the hospital and just like kind of having one of those little moments where I was like, this is like pretty much what I want to do. Like, I don't know. It was, I know like not everyone really has that moment, but I'm gonna be honest, like I had that moment. I like shadowed a PA in the ER and I was like, this is the coolest thing. Like they just get to deal with all these like wild and crazy people all day. And I don't know, it just was awesome. Side tangent there. But anyway, so undergrad, I did intramurals all 4 years. So I was involved in that. And then I became a referee, and later on I became a supervisor. So I was able to like incorporate some like leadership experience, I guess, into my application, which they love. And then I was also involved in some like pre-PT and like health clubs. Oh, sorry, I just realized I didn't have the chat pulled up. Okay. So yeah, I like got involved in like the pre clubs just to like get a little more info on it, kind of like you guys are, which I found really helpful because I had some people come and talk to me and stuff like when I was in the clubs, and it really helped me like solidify like I guess this is kind of what I want to do, or not. So and then I ended up my junior and senior year, I volunteered at Kaiser in West LA and the Dignity Health in downtown LA, which was where I met that PA, which was super cool. And then I had a question from Amy. She was debating between human bio and biosciences. What's the difference? I'm actually not sure. I think the biosciences is maybe a little more like broad focused, if I could guess. Like it would be, you might do like some animal study classes, whereas mine was just like human physiology and human anatomy and stuff. So it was kind of nice because I wasn't super interested in like animal study stuff. And then do you have any tips for how to shadow PAs / reach out? This is super hard to find PAs to shadow. Like I struggled with this for a while. It kind of just takes like persistent effort on your part. And I found most of mine through after I graduated and I started working, I just like kept asking around, like, do you know PAs? Or if there was PAs that as I'll talk about in a minute, like when I was working as an EMT, I was taking patients to the hospital and I was handing my patients off to PAs. And so I ended up just like asking one of them, like straight up, like after I knew her a little bit. And she was super cool about it. So a lot of it's just going to come through like knowing them like either directly or indirectly. I tried to cold call initially and it didn't really work out too well. So maybe you guys will have better luck than me on that, but it's a little intimidating. And then would you recommend getting a degree in health science? I mean, you don't really have to, right? Like as long as you fulfill all the prerequisites, it doesn't really matter what you study. It's just those health science degrees typically have more of the classes that you need. So then you don't have to like go back and take more classes later on. But no, you definitely don't. Like I know some people that absolutely didn't and got into PA school because I don't know, they were like an art major, but they like incorporated somehow that it was like brought them to being a PA, some like creative way that I didn't have. Okay. And then I guess just some tips that I thought of just off the top of my head was like, don't rush the process of like just in general, try not to, as hard as it is sometimes because you have like parental pressure and your own pressure to like do stuff and seeing like other people get into programs and stuff. It's like a lot going on simultaneously. So I would just like encourage you all to stop and like try to just enjoy as much as you can like right now and like enjoy this sort of process. Because I definitely didn't do that as much as I would have liked sometimes. And I also like rushed my first rotation or my first application process because I didn't get in my first time. I rushed it so hard. Like I had 1,005 hours or something, and like the requirement for most of the schools was like 1,000. And so they probably looked at my app and they're like, "What is this guy doing?" So I wouldn't recommend doing that if you can help it. Whoops. And then make sure you have like 5 to 10 schools that you can like that you're slowly starting to research, because some of them do have some really weird prerequisites, which was my problem the first time around, because I applied to schools that I didn't even have, like I missed one prereq and then they just like threw out my application. So it was like wasted money and time. And that was my stupidity. Just because I didn't like research it hard enough. But just for you guys, like make sure you like go down the list and check box it. And like I had a Excel sheet, which helped a lot too. And then I always recommend people to try to shadow different different people in healthcare. Like if you know you want to be in healthcare, if you can possibly score like shadowing under like an MD or like an NP or like even a nurse. I don't know if they do that, but just someone like, or just volunteer in a hospital and like follow around different providers, because then you'll be able to actually see like, okay, do I see myself in this role, or do I see myself going to medical school or something? So I think that helps. And it also gives you kind of a leg up in your interviews to be like, I've seen, these other health positions, and you don't have to like smack talk them, but you can be like, I didn't really like I just don't see myself working as a nurse, because I see myself more as like a provider who is actually like figuring out what this patient has and like ordering x-rays and labs and all this stuff. So you can like word it in like a more positive way than like, bashing nurses or whatever. And then I like cut myself off on the last thing, but I think it's, oh yeah. So, it's a little cheesy, but I think just trying to be like a well-rounded person, like on your application, is way more like super, super important. Like they don't really care if you have a 4.0 GPA, but you can't talk to someone. Like they're not going to take you in the program. So you have to have like other interests, and you have to have other stuff going on outside of just like studying 24/7. Because they want actual people that can like have conversations with other individuals and take care of them simultaneously, because that's a big part of the care process, which some people just lack it. Like, I don't know. And I think it is really important though to have that, because the patient feels like they're getting better care. Yeah, the pandemic. Yeah, the pandemic definitely doesn't help with that at all. Okay. And then, so as I kind of mentioned, I didn't get in my first time around. But I guess like my initial gap year, I worked running 911 calls in Los Angeles, which was like super like extremely outside of my comfort zone. Like I was really nervous about it. Like weeks before, I would like think about every possible scenario, like what would I do if a patient presented with this or this and like all this. And I thought of it like all like I was having to do it by myself. And then when you actually get into the situation, like there's so many people there to help you. So like that's the nice thing about it, is you're never really alone in those situations. Unless you're like out in the wilderness or something, but otherwise not. I basically got into it because my brother was an EMT, and then he kind of like prompted me to go down that path. And it just so happened that USC had actually been offering a course, like a super consolidated course, that was right when I was graduating. So I kind of just hopped on board with that. And just, I don't know, I didn't really think of anything else, because it just kind of presented that way. So and then as far as the certification process for that, so you have to do like some sort of accredited class, and then you have to take pass that class or course, which I think they range anywhere from like 4 weeks to like a whole semester, like 4 months or 3 to 4 months. And then after you pass the class, then you have to take a boards exam or like a national exam, which is honestly, the boards exam is going to be easier than your class test. So they do that on purpose. So if you pass that, the boards is kind of a joke. And then EMT opportunities, I think it was mainly just because I was already in LA. And so that was like the only, like I just applied to a bunch of EMT jobs in LA, which they're constantly needing people because the turnover rate is insane. But I would recommend, like, if you do an EMT course, like usually the instructors will have like some sort of connections, so you can try to like network with them about jobs. And then as far as like what I did as an EMT, so it was mostly just providing like BLS, which is basic life support, which pretty much means like I was assisting LA County fire paramedics with like advanced life support cases. And then if there was, like, we did have some cardiac arrest patients where the EMTs are doing all the CPR. And then also like doing the bag valve mask, like where you're actually ventilating for the patient. So it was super good, like hands-on experience. It was kind of intense at times, but I feel like some of that has carried with me even still. The biggest thing too is like EMTs have to learn what for our assessment, like figuring out what's going on. We have to learn what's called OPQRST, if you guys have heard of that, which is basically like onset, provocating factors, quality, like radiating pain, severity, and timing. And so all of those like stand for a different thing within your assessment, like when you're getting a history on a patient. And I still use that right now as a PA student in the emergency department. Like I'm asking those same questions. So I think that was super cool to get that experience early. And then I guess as far as like lessons, I guess that was one of them, just like that work experience, it will continue to carry with you. And no matter like what prior experience you come into PA school, you're gonna have like some leg up in that field. Like I know some of my classmates like were MAs or scribes or something, and then they're just like really good at like documentation or like how, you know, an MA like, or how like an office runs essentially, which I had no clue about. So there's like those little things that everyone pieces together that has coming into PA school, which is kind of cool because you get a bunch of different people from different backgrounds. Let me see what did I apply during my senior year? No. So I didn't apply until I think like the 2018 cycle. So it was like a year after, basically a year after my senior year. And yeah, I did 911 right after passing my EMT exam, which was insane, but I don't even know why they let me do that, but it somehow worked, I guess. And then yeah, I did the EMT program at USC, but it was through like an independent company, but it was like, I guess, conjoined or something with USC, like it was a part of it somehow for USC students, I guess. The course was I think like $1,500 or something, or like $1,000. So it wasn't too bad. I mean, even though like EMTs get paid nothing, but it wasn't that bad. Yeah, I had to work. So that was one of the reasons actually. Sorry, Kyla asked if I had to work any crazy hours as an EMT. That was one of the reasons why I kind of burned myself out, because I was working 24-hour shifts, which was basically all my company offered. And so there would be like some nights where I would get like an hour of sleep. And it was just like really not healthy, and it was really hard on my body. And I like would get home the next day and I would basically sleep all day and like wake up at night. So it was like I was not even human. But yeah, that was a little much, but I loved it. Like I got a lot of hours that way at least. And then yeah, thank you. The OPQRST. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sorry if I said that super fast. Yeah, I know, right? Is that legal? Yeah. I don't even know, honestly. So like sometimes they would ask me to work like 48 hours. And I did that a couple times. I worked 48 hours straight and I was like, this doesn't feel legal. But yeah. And then some lessons learned from my gap year. I definitely try to enjoy my time with friends and family like as much as I could. Because like people prior to me had said that that was like a big thing they had wished they had done like more of. So I really try to do that. Or just like any opportunity like off work, if I could, I would try to go and hang out with friends or like drive up and see like family. Just because once you do get into PA school, it is like more than a full-time job. And I don't know, you kind of have to be like just all in with it. So you got to enjoy your time before is I'm a firm believer in. And then travel if you can. I actually managed the picture in the bottom right was I took a trip to Japan like right before PA school because my uncle actually lives in Tokyo. So I went and visited him and then did like a little solo trip through Japan like before the pandemic. So it was cool. And then I also went to Life is Beautiful it's like a music festival in where is it? In Vegas. So that was kind of wild, but it was fun. It was a really good time. And then try not to study if you can. That's like all you're going to be doing in PA school. So I don't really think there's a point unless the only thing, if you're one of those people that like has to study, I would recommend um, studying medical terminology. But aside from that, like don't study like physiology and all that bullshit. Like you're going to have so much time to study that you're going to like wish you didn't before. And then yeah, as I mentioned earlier, like work experience, like whatever you go into, there's going to be like some aspect that will carry with you as a PA student and then as a PA. So it doesn't really matter, to be honest, what you go into, just as long as like the school, I guess, will accept it as patient care hours. It doesn't really matter, in my opinion. Did I end up taking 2 gap years? Yeah, I actually did because because I didn't get in the first time. And then I was like, okay, now I gotta like still work. And then sorry, I forgot to mention. So the picture next to the EMT picture was I worked in wound care. Like I moved down to San Diego after I didn't get in. Did my Japan trip because I needed a break from working ridiculous hours. And then I came back and I started working in wound care as like my title was still an EMT, but it was kind of more of like an MA. Like I was assisting. This was one of the nurse practitioners I was working with. And then I worked with PAs too in it. So we were like driving around to people's houses in San Diego and providing wound care for them, which I had no idea that wound care was a thing before that. I just happened to like see the job on like Indeed or something, and I was like, I need a job. So, yeah, that was wild. Like the doctor like called me like 5 minutes after I put my application in, and I'm like, damn, this guy's really desperate for someone like right now. But I just ended up doing it, and it was cool. Like again, like you see like so many diabetic wounds and ulcers and like nasty stuff, but it's there in healthcare, like in the hospital right now. I saw a diabetic wound the other day in the emergency department, and I'm like, I know what that looks like because I worked in this as a like wound care assistant for a little bit. So again, like that stuff comes back. did I ever feel like I was falling behind all the time in PA school? Yeah, like that's just like a feeling you have to get used to. I managed it by talking with like my friends in the program and realizing that they were all going through the same thing. So I think that helps when like everyone is in it together. And I basically managed it by like getting in the mindset that I'm never going to know everything about medicine, and it's impossible. Like medicine changes every single day at such a rapid rate that it's like it's impossible to know everything about it. So I think just reminding myself that was kind of like put me at ease a little bit. And also just knowing that like I was doing the best I could in that moment. And like what more am I going to do than like studying most of the day, you know? Like I don't know. So I just knew that I was putting in like a lot of the time and effort that I needed to. And the programs understand that too. And so they'll like make the test challenging, but if you put in the work, like you'll be fine all the way through. Um, and then do I know anything about dermatology PA? Yeah, I mean, a lot of PAs try to go into dermatology. We actually had a full like week derm module during the classroom portion, and we had a derm PA who taught like basically all the classes for us. And she was a boss. Like she knew so much random stuff about skin. Like I don't know. That's like one of my weaknesses because she'd be like, "Do you see this like subtle difference in the raised skin and the papule and like all this stuff?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. Like it looks like a red rash to me," but she was really good at it. So that's not my forte, but there's tons of PAs in derm, and it's actually one of the highest paid specialties too, because you do a lot of procedures, um, and procedures make more money. So the one thing that she said though is like that got a little bit boring with it is she had to do a lot of skin checks. So it's basically like having people like strip down naked and like you just do like a full skin check on them for like any cancers or whatever. So she said that she did that most of the day and it just got like a little boring because she wanted to do more procedures, but I think it just depends on the office. Yeah, the Indeed and Craigslist thing is always a struggle. I think I just lucked out with that one. Other than EMT, what are other ways to reach your hours? I mean, pretty much anything that I don't know how they define it on like the what is the website that you apply, but whatever like the organization is that you apply through, they have it like defined, I think, as you have to be like somewhat involved in like the patient's well-being or care or something. So I think it's like a pretty broad definition, but you can do like medical assistant, scribing. I think one of the guys was like an X-ray technician. One guy was like, there's a couple of guys that were in the military doing like army medic stuff. Yeah, it's pretty vast to be honest, like what you can do. Double check about the scribe stuff though with the program because I know some were like dropping that because they're like it's not hands-on at all, which I think is kind of BS because the scribes are hearing everything that the doctors and PAs are saying. So they're like getting, like direct experience in my opinion. Um, since I took 2 gap years, was I concerned that some of the classes I took in undergrad weren't going to transfer over? I know some classes take, I know some schools take classes up to 5 years old. Yeah, that's something you have to be cautious of. Like I know especially for like the anatomy and physiology classes, they're kind of weird about that. Like it has to be within a certain time frame. So just double check with the school's website because it's hard to make generalizations because they're all so different, which sucks, but that's just the reality of the different programs. And then I actually in my gap year, I actually I had to go back and take microbiome because it wasn't included in my major tract. So I found that out after like it was too late basically. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm taking another class. So it's kind of just part of the process. Like sometimes it's a little grueling, as you guys I'm sure know, just like in undergrad in general, but it's just like it's part of the, I don't know, just part of the process of getting in to grad school, I think. If I fall behind easily in undergrad, PA school might just knock me out. Yeah. No, you'll be fine. I think always like I felt the same way, but I think when you get thrown into those situations, like you somehow find a way to like adapt. But you don't do that until you get thrown in, right? What other specialties was I interested in? I really like cardiology. I really like ER, and maybe surgery. My next rotation's in surgery, so I guess we'll see. But I don't know. ER and cardiology are like top of my list right now. And then phlebotomy. I'm not sure if yeah, probably phlebotomy. I don't know. That's hands-on experience.
Wait, just so everyone knows, Alec, how many rotations are you in like right now? Like I think you do 4, right?
Oh yeah, I do. So no, I do 12 total.
Oh, 12.
Like
Never mind. I
yeah.
was way off.
Well, no. So sorry, no. So you might be right. Like it depends on the programs because some have like fewer. Ours just happens to have 12 because we have 9 like main ones, and then we have 3. We have 3 elective rotations, which one of ours was online, which kind of sucked, but it had to happen because of like everything with COVID going on, so it made sense. Okay, I'm gonna just go a little bit further. So I just threw in some random pictures. The laceration, like on the left, was a guy that I stitched up the other night. So stuff for you guys to look forward to. And then he actually came back and I saw him again and got to take him out, which I was happy about because I got to see that I didn't completely mess up his face. And then the dude, like this guy like fell into like some furniture or something. And I thought I was gonna like, I don't know, his eye was really close. So it was kind of scary, but managed to suture him up. And then this guy on the bottom left, like had a dislocated middle finger, which I got to like pull back into place, which is cool. And then I actually worked I worked at a pizza and beer place while I was doing wound care in San Diego during my gap year, which was super kind of like a nice thing to do on the side. Got to deliver pizzas for a little bit. And that was just like another thing I could throw in there, like that I had more like real world experience, like they love the admissions committee, love that stuff. And actually one of my preceptors the other day, he asked me, he's like, okay, so you worked as an EMT. Have you ever worked in a restaurant? And I was like, yes. And he's like, you have like the double, like that's the double perfect thing if you want to work in ER is working in a restaurant and as an EMT prior. So I was like, nice. And then just like I tried to learn how to surf in the bottom right, which was rough. And then middle photo, I actually took a patient to that Dignity Health that I volunteered at. So I thought it was kind of cool. It's like a weird full circle moment. And then let me see if I missed. As far as hours go, are those official? As in, are they tracked? Sorry, let me read the whole question. As far as hours go, are those official ? As in, are they tracked or is it more estimating? It's more estimating. The programs know that, like, you're not going to have an exact like to the T or like to the second amount of your hours. So if you just have like a generalized, like, okay, I think I was averaging like 50 to 60 hours a week, and then I just like multiplied it out. And that's how I got like my general number. And then I heard the main difference between physicians and PAs is that PAs can't do surgery. How true / false is this? There's a lot of differences, but PAs can actually do surgery. They're just not the ones that are typically doing like the main procedure. So PAs are what's called first assists in surgery. And so they're standing right across, like the surgeon will be on one side of the patient. The PA will be directly across from them, which is the first assist position. Which could be like a resident or like another medical doctor, but sometimes it's PAs, and they'll basically just be assisting the surgeon throughout the procedures. They might be like suctioning or like making incisions or holding like retractors or something throughout the surgery. But there's typically always like, well, there is like, there has to be a surgeon in the room performing the surgery. So PAs are they're never supposed to do the surgeries on their own, essentially. Yeah, surgery does sound really cool. And especially because you get to do like, there's certain like clinic days where you get to round on people and go and see patients like before the operation and talk to them and like basically give them a lowdown of what's going to happen in the procedure and stuff. Yeah, you do need steady hands, so you can't have too much caffeine for sure. So basically what is a physician assistant? So a PA is a licensed medical provider who does a lot of the same things as a medical doctor. So PAs are seeing patients, diagnosing them, ordering labs, ordering imaging like X-ray, CT, MRI, etc. We're also prescribing, which I don't know if a lot of people know. You can prescribe. It depends on the state that you live in, but basically PAs can, like in California, we can prescribe like any drug that a medical doctor can. So it's Schedule 2 through 5, which is cool. And then why did I select PA? It kind of just came back to like shadowing a bunch of different providers and then just seeing that it kind of fit me the best. I really liked how PAs could go between different specialties super easily. So let's say you work like a year in family practice and you're like, I hate this. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. If you're a medical doctor, and you did your residency, you're specialized in that, you have to go back through another residency if you're going to change specialties. So you'd have to go through another 3 to 4 or 5 years of schooling, versus a PA can just go and get another job at a different site. And then you just get trained at the site to whatever it is. Like you could go from family practice to surgery and then just get trained to do surgery. So I thought that was really cool. And then it seemed like from everyone I talked to, including some like MDs, they're like, go down the PA path if you want to have more of a life. And so I kind of took that to heart and I was like, I definitely do want that. So PA versus MD, NP, and nurse. So again, like medical doctors have to go through 4 years of medical school, then they come out and they have to do at least 4 years of residency, getting paid basically minimum wage to do the same thing as a doctor. And you have at least $200,000 to $300,000 in debt as well. But I mean, if you want to be the top dog, then go for it. Like, there's no problem with that if that's really what you want to do. Nurse practitioners, super similar to PAs, but it's just a different training model. So NPs are based off the nursing model, which is more of like a very holistic sort of approach. I'm not super like I'm not very I'm not very knowledgeable about overall, but from what I've like read, it's a little more like holistic, like the whole patient sort of approach, whereas PA is based off the medical model, like the MD model. So it's like, what is going on with this patient physiologically? What is the disease process? And how do we stop the disease process from occurring? Or how do we treat this patient? But NPs work in a lot of the same settings, primarily primary care, though, as for NPs. And then nurse is just like you're going to be doing a lot of the like following orders from the PAs or the MDs, whether that's like administering meds, drawing blood, starting IVs, tending to the patient's needs. So like getting them blankets, you know, any of that sort of stuff. Like the PAs can like do that in a sense, but that's not our primary role. Like we're not going in there and changing like bedpans and stuff. Because we're trying to like treat the patient and prescribe them medication for what's going on. And then scope of practice, it really varies on the state that you work in, but for California, it's very broad, and it's basically whatever scope of practice is determined at the practice site. So like in the ER that I'm in rotations at right now, the PAs can see and discharge patients by themselves, but then certain patients like chest pain patients, or I think certain like COVID patients, they have to like run it by a doctor first before the patient gets discharged or like admitted. So that's just like very variable depending on where you work. And then requirements, this all just depends on, or prereqs and amount of hours. Again, it depends on the school or the program, but most I would try to aim for like 2,000 hours of work experience. So that's the paid or like the PCE hours. And then the I think like the healthcare experience or HCE one is more of like if you were like indirectly involved in the patient's care. So like I volunteered at like a kids camp that like for kids that had like cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy and stuff. And so I was like indirectly involved with their care because I was like helping them like with events and stuff, but I wasn't actually like tending to their medical needs. So I put it as HCE versus like volunteering is just like straight like observation hours like in a hospital where you're like not touching the patient or doing anything, or just volunteering. Like if you volunteer at like any event, you can throw it in your application. Resources when applying to PA programs, I would say the biggest thing is just like, again, going back to reading the program's requirements and websites. I didn't really like read any books or anything for applying. Like it all just came from doing like online research and looking at program sites. And then let's see, a couple of side questions. I've been seeing the PA politics on the Facebook groups, but I'm kind of glad that I have not seen that. Does the prescription have to get approved by a doctor first? No, it doesn't. At least I don't think so. No. I think again that depends on the state, but in California, I don't think it does. Medical school burnout rate, yeah, it's kind of real. They have to go through so much schooling and then get paid nothing after school for 4+ years. It's kind of insane. Do you regret going to a PA school in California because they're expensive compared to other state PA schools? No, I mean, I basically, ideally, I wanted to stay in California if I could. But I applied to a couple schools on the East Coast just to like have other options, but I did want to stay in California. And excuse me, PA schools are going to be in general like probably around $90,000 to $100,000 for the 2 years, which is way less expensive than medical school, and you'll be able to pay it off fairly quickly, which is nice. And then I would have gone out of state if, but I'd already gotten into University of the Pacific when I got other like offers out of state. So I just like took my offer and stayed. Is volunteering in a hospital count as HCE or volunteering? I think for the most part, it's going to count as volunteering because I think most of the time the hospitals have like weird restrictions on you like even touching patients in any capacity. So a lot of times it'll just be like straight up volunteer hours. No, it's not 100K a year. At least I hope a program is not that much. That's a lot. And then how to pick the PA school. I mean, I honestly like for most of them, I just try to find programs. If I'm being real, I just try to find programs that fit with my prerequisites and generally what I was looking for. Like as far as like some programs have additional things, like USC's PA program has like medical Spanish added on. Which I thought that'd be great. I just didn't want to like necessarily pay for more schooling. So instead of like 27 months, like the average program, I think theirs is like 34 or 36 or something. So that's just more tuition you have to pay. But it's cool. Like the medical Spanish thing is cool. So those are like all factors you have to consider. And then location, like how far you want to be away from home. Price is another consideration. I think the biggest one for me was just faculty, like at the interviews, like getting a good vibe of the faculty is really important because those are the people that are going to be helping you for like your entire time in PA school. So like what is their background? Like are they really experienced and etc. And then what are accredited / provisional programs? So I kind of mentioned this briefly earlier, but so you'll see some that are provisional, and that means that they're within that 5-year time period. So they haven't quite graduated 5 classes yet to meet all those requirements. So they have them as provisional status. But they're still accredited though. So if you start at a accredited program, it doesn't matter what the status turns to at the end. It's whatever you start the program as. So you'll still be able to take your boards at the end. So you don't have to like worry about a program like dropping out or whatever, as long as you start and it's accredited. And then ideally you want to go to like a continued accredited program, because that means that they don't have to be like audited for another like 10 plus years. It doesn't really matter which PA school you go to, in my opinion, as long as again it's accredited. They're all at a national standard, so it doesn't really matter. And then major, sorry, I know it's like almost 8. So I'm running like a little bit over for you guys. But I guess as far as these last like tip thing, just try to get like as much volunteer experience as you can, even if it's like once a week. It'll look good on applications. Most programs are not requiring the GRE anymore, so I would just do research. You don't have to take that, which I didn't even put it on my apps because my score was bad. And then letter of recs, make sure you get someone that can like speak truly to who you are and your work experience instead of just like a random professor or someone you work with. And then let's see. Yeah, sorry, Amy, I know I'm like running over. I don't know what.
No, it's fine. What we mostly worry about is whether it's invading your time. So as long as you're okay with it, then we can. And if not, then it's totally fine as well.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can definitely finish up this like the section. I don't want to just like leave you guys hanging on this.
No problem.
But I'll give a quick summary. So I don't hold everyone up too. So brief thing, like I guess the routine of my day. So during the didactic, which is the classroom portion, which was basically like a year with some and a couple months, was all classroom stuff. So it was typically like Monday through Friday, 8 to 4, 8 to 5-ish on most days of like straight classroom work or like lectures with like an hour break for lunch. Some days varied, like some days we had off, which was nice. Typically, which was kind of rough, we had like an exam almost every single Monday. So that was a lot. So you had to study like consistently, like keep up on studying. And then yeah, sort of like middle end of the day, like same thing. Like I would eat dinner after lecture and then I would study like a couple more hours and then relax. But kind of rinse and repeat like throughout the week. Average amount of time dedicated to study, I don't really know the exact number, but it was definitely a lot. It was like most of my free time for a large portion of the classroom stuff. And then I did have a lot of free time, so a lot more free time than you'd think. Like on certain weekends that we didn't have tests, like the Monday, like we would go and do stuff like this is like a picture of us at Top Golf with some classmates, and then we'd go like on hikes or we'd go to like breweries or like I mentioned that camping trip and stuff. So we definitely had weekends where like you have to do that to like de-stress and not think about school for a little bit. It's just as important to do that. And then I looked after my mental health by doing that for sure. Like, and also taking like walks and running and exercising was like my outlet. So whatever your guys' outlet is, it's important to like stay true to that. And then a quick rundown of right now during my clinical rotations. I'm basically like working a full-time job right now. So I'm in the emergency department with a full-time PA. And it's whatever hours they work. So like today I worked from 7 to 4:30. And I'm like, it's super cool because I'm like seeing all of her patients basically for her. And then I'll go and report back to her. And she's like, okay, what do you want to do for the patient? And you tell her, and she's like, no, you're completely wrong. Or she's like, yeah, that sounds good. So it's like really good experience to just like you just get thrown in there and you're like figure it out. But that's the best way to learn in my opinion. And then like when I start surgery next week, my hours will just depend on the surgeon. So it just varies every month. But this is way better than the classroom. Just because like I learned so much better by like doing and seeing patients. So it's been great. And then just a couple like last tips for you guys. I recommend like when you do apply, start the application like right when it opens and just like start like filling in stuff like every single day or like do a little bit every day. Like you don't have to go like work on it for like 8 hours or something. Just try to do like I would usually try to do like 45 minutes to an hour every day or like skip a day here and there or whatever. So like chip away at the application. If you do apply, your first time and like for instance if like I didn't get in my first time, all that information carries over into the next application cycle, so you don't have to do all the like busy work and filling out all of those like all the what is it like the transcripts and stuff again, but you do have to send out new letter of recommendations. So that's the only thing that like you have to redo, or if you have new experiences you can add on to it, but it's pretty nice if you do have to apply again. And then I would say just again, like as much as you can, try not to stress or like compare your overall process to other people like online and on Facebook and stuff, because like my experience is going to be so much different than any one of you guys. And for anyone on the Facebook page, like getting into a school, And so it's impossible to like say, oh, they had this GPA and this, and be like, oh, okay, so if I get that, then I'll get in. Like that's just not how it works. Like they're gonna look at you as a person and as like a future colleague, and make sure that like this is 100% what you want to do, and that you can have a conversation with someone, and they don't like, they care more about that and being well-rounded than having that 4.0 GPA. So just like remember that, guys, if you're super stressed about getting like a C or something or a D in a class, like they're not going to ding you completely off that one thing. Just like you as a person, they'll look at you like overall, which is nice. And then I definitely found time to work out. And I needed that for sure. Like just to go and take like even 45 minutes or an hour like away from the computer or the textbook is really important. Because I like, especially if you find yourself reading the same sentence over and over, like I do sometimes, I know that it's like a time to take a break, because I'm not like, it's just a waste of time at that point. So, awesome. Well, sorry, I feel like I just talked your guys' ear off, but I hope that I answered some. If you let me know if you guys have any other questions. And here I'll throw my email as well in the chat. So if you guys let me see if that's right. Yeah, that's my email if you guys come up with any other questions. And then how am I paying for PA school? Just like federal loans. Usually like programs have pretty good access to it. And again, like it's kind of a lot of money like up front, like pulling out the loans. But again, if you look at if you look at like most of the starting salaries for PAs, it's like 6 figures. So like that's, if you like budget well your first couple years working, like you could pay back your loans pretty quick. So I wouldn't worry too much about the initial front of money. Like I think PAs are like super good return on investment profession.
Okay, so thank you. We are just wrapping up our meeting right now. Alec, is it okay if you click the next slide? Because we have like a word of the
Oh, yeah.
day. Thank you so much. Oh, Q&A and photo time. But yeah, let's do that. Let's just show, can you click the